Okay, so there is one more story to be done, and kind of an interesting little thing. I mean, so we've got another, film coming out in the middle of July, and I'm just pulling the photos up here for you guys. But this film is, I think, and I've said it before, I think could be easily $1 billion film, easily. Um, and so the numbers are now finally being put out, and they're big. They're very big for this movie. And I'm talking about Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning Part One. This, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I think it's going to be $1 billion movie. Okay, even though it's not indicated everything about it, it could be whatever. Okay, so the reason I say this, so the numbers just came in. Okay, and according to the Hollywood Reporter, Dead Reckoning Part 1 is sprinting toward $90 million opening weekend. Tom Cruise's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1 is tracking for a franchise best opening in the $90 million domestic box office range in the first 5 days, a huge start for the July tentpole, and there's plenty of upside, according to polling. Cruise is in Europe this week for the Rome-London premieres. The Paramount Skydance film begins opening in theaters across the globe 3 weeks from now, Wednesday, July 12th in North America. Now, truth be told, if depending on where you are in the country and you're watching this, check your local theaters, AMC or Regal. I know right down the street from me, July 10th, they're actually going to be doing a fan screening. So you might actually be able to get a screening for that then. Now, the film officially opens on the 12th. The $90 million projection is including a 3-day weekend estimate of $65 million or more. The latest in the famous action franchise is expected to be another win for Cruise after Paramount and Skydance blockbuster Top Gun Maverick, which grossed nearly $1.5 billion at the worldwide box office last year, despite ongoing challenges posed by the pandemic. Box office pundits believe moviegoers view the new Mission Impossible pick as sort of a spiritual sequel to Maverick, even though the two movies aren't part of the same franchise. In terms of the Mission series, and by the way, guys, last thing I'll say about this is stay tuned tomorrow. Come back here tomorrow. I will be doing Ghost Protocol. So that is the fourth film in this franchise, and this is all leading up to July 12th and Dead Reckoning. In terms of the Mission Impossible series, 2008's Fallout, the last film that was just done, held a 3-day weekend opening of $61.2 million at the domestic box office, followed by 2000's Mission Impossible 2, which kind of surprised me, which I didn't care for. And anybody who knows, okay, if they know, they know. Go back and watch the playlist that I have. I'm doing all the Mission Impossible films, as I said. Go back. I've done the first 3 films, and yeah, I didn't care for Mission Impossible number 2. I know why it did this number though. 57.8 million. You have Rogue Nation at 55.5, Mission Impossible 3 at 47.7, and Mission Impossible at 45.4, and Ghost Protocol, the one I will be doing tomorrow, 12.8 million. By the way, those are not adjusted for inflation. Cruise is a favorite among cinema owners for promoting theatrical over streaming. He was also lauded by Steven Spielberg. He basically said, "You saved Hollywood's ass, and you might have saved the theatrical distribution." Spielberg told Cruise during a private exchange at the 2023 Oscars luncheon that a bystander captured on video. Seriously, Maverick might have just saved the theatrical industry. Dead Reckoning Part 1 is directed by Cruise's good luck charm, Chris McQuarrie, who has directed the star in a number of other films. McQuarrie helmed Dead Reckoning Part 2 as well, which is set to open June 28th of next year. Footage screened at Comic-Con in late April included an inventive chase scene, which Cruise's Ethan Hunt is handcuffed to Haley Atwell's Grace as they flee police, and multiple factions of people who want them. And a notable character, played by Pom Klemoff, whose most frightening feature is how well she seems to enjoy it. In years past, Cruise has debuted stunts from other previous Mission Impossible, such as hanging off the side of a plane, skydiving, or jumping off a motorbike of a cliff in Norway. Other stars of Dead Reckoning, of course, you've got Rebecca Ferguson coming back, Ving Rhames, Henry Serinnan, who actually played Kendrick all the way back in '96, Simon Pegg, Vanessa Kirby, Angela Bassett is coming back, Carrie Earves, which, by the way, if anybody doesn't know the name, played in The Princess Bride, Rob Delaney, and Charles Parnell. Okay, guys. Boy, oh boy, I can't wait. That's all I'm going to say about this. Here's the thing. I think this movie is going to be a billion-dollar movie. I honestly do. I think it's going to be the second billion-dollar movie for a number of different reasons. Number one, okay, this is the last Mission Impossible in the whole franchise. Now, when I say last one, it is cut up into two, okay? So I just watched this morning, a interview with one of the head guys from Collider, and he was talking with McQuarrie about directing Tom Cruise in the film. And he basically asked him, how did you do this? So he knew it was a long story, okay, and basically they cut it up into two films. The other thing was they didn't know what they knew what they were doing, but it was really on the fly. So they had to shoot part of 8 when they were doing 7. It was crazy. There's so many factors here. Number one, you, as the piece mentioned, you have you have Top Gun Maverick. You have all this goodwill. Number 2, he fights for the theaters. Okay. Number 3, okay, he is the last, and I'll go out on the record in saying this. He is the last movie star we have. Okay. In Hollywood. Yes, DiCaprio is a star. I'm not disputing that. However, he's not doing action movies. Okay. Cruise knows everything you want to know about making a film. Everything. He is like a second director to McQuarrie. Okay. All of that being said, and then of course, okay, as the piece comes out and says, well, they debuted. Look, this is a guy that actually put, and you could, by the way, go on YouTube and find this. Okay, good. Type into YouTube Dead Reckoning motorcycle cliff jump. Paramount. They put a whole 9-minute piece on YouTube. Paramount did. Talk about promotional material. Cruise knows what he's doing when it comes to audiences, guys. This is huge. I think, and this is just me personally, I think 90 million is low. I think this has a shot to make $100 million. Now, it's going to do Guardians numbers? Probably not. But look at it like this. And this is why I said this is the third movie, guys. I think, and I've said this all the way back from May. There were 3 movies that were going to win the 2 weekends. Okay. I don't know if it's going to happen now. Guardians won May 5th and May 12th. I said The Flash was going to win 2 weekends. I might be holding my breath there. Okay. But this is going to win the 3rd weekend. This is the 3rd movie that's going to win the 2nd weekend. Not only is it getting the 10th, not in the 11th, not only is it getting the 12th and the 13th, but it's got that next week too. Now you say, well, Barbie and Oppenheimer. This is why I've always said Barbie needs to move. And you say, well, why not Oppenheimer? Because it's one of those things where, regardless of which one moves, regardless which film moves, okay, You got to look at it like this. They're both going to get crushed. They're both going to get crushed because here's the thing. You had the second. I hate repeating myself, but it's not about opening weekend, guys. It's about the second weekend. What are you doing? Look at films that we've had come out. Look at Creed, okay? Look at Spider-Verse. Look at Guardians of the Galaxy 3, okay? On the flip side of the coin, look what happened with Shazam. Look what happened with Ant-Man. Ant-Man went down 66%, okay? So it's all going to be about word of mouth, and everybody coming out of the world premiere is saying, this is a phenomenal movie. Now, there's one person, okay, that said they didn't enjoy it, and that was the rap Scott Mendelson, okay? And he said, I hope I'm in the minority. This movie is going to blow up. Now, getting back to the piece real quick, anybody who's watched the other videos, so it said Mission Impossible 2 actually made, okay, $57.8 million. Now, anybody who's watched the video that I did knows that I didn't like the film. That being said, I know why it made that much, because the thing is that it was a sequel, right? The anticipation was there. If you go back to 1996, okay, quick history lesson, guys. If you go back to 1996, there were a lot of television films coming out, okay? You had the Flintstones, you had the Addams Family, you had Beverly Hillbillies. So what ended up happening was Cruise actually started his own production company with Paula Wagner, his Creative Arts Association agent. So it was Paula Wagner. It was the Wagner and Cruise production company. They got the whole library of Paramount. And part of that library was Mission Impossible. And they said, let's do this. What ended up happening was he goes over to Spielberg's house for dinner. Brian De Palma is there. Okay. Now, at that time, which of course Spielberg, he ended up working with Spielberg many years later for War of the Worlds and something else. But nonetheless, Minority Report. So nonetheless, what ends up happening is De Palma says, oh, you're doing that? Okay. Well, let's pitch something. What ends up happening is De Palma comes on board. De Palma comes on board, and by the way, that is his third best movie in my opinion. Scarface, or The Untouchables is his masterclass, Scarface, and then Mission Impossible. Okay, nonetheless, he ends up directing it. Then he decides that he doesn't want to do a sequel. So they're trying to figure out a script, because Ethan, you got to understand, in the Mission Impossible story, there was no Ethan Hunt. They developed the character. Okay? So they actually end up doing that. And it takes several years. And then it kind of goes in limbo. Face Off comes out. Okay? Nicolas Cage, John Travolta, directed by John Woo. John Woo is huge overseas. They said, he just did an action movie that did really well. Let's go get him. Nonetheless, they go get John Woo. So now John Woo's attached to it. And there were a lot of problems with the script and what it did. And it just didn't end up doing well. Nonetheless, that's how the whole thing. And then he went, he jumped around a couple of, so we had Brad Bird do Ghost Protocol. But when he went with McQuarrie, that was the money director. And he's done the last 3 films. He's done Rogue Nation. He did Fallout. And he's done Dead Reckoning. And it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. I can't wait for this. I'm telling you, this is going to be the biggest movie this summer. Anyways. Okay. So yeah, guys, if you ever want to send me a super chat or anything like that, all you got to do is hit the little thing down there, and you should be able to do that. So it says, I believe the tracking is lowballing. Will over-index 100%, plus overseas will be huge. Mission Global premieres tour are so good. From Rome, London today, now South Korea, Saudi Arabia. Yeah, absolutely. They're making the rounds. They are making the rounds. And that, guys, that's what I said too. Like, you know, oh, Mendelsohn didn't like Top Gun Maverick too? Huh. I mean, that's why I always say film is subjective, right? But that all being said, Tom Cruise is the last movie star we have today. Hands down. Twice in Sunday. The only thing that man doesn't have to do, and he hasn't done, is direct. That's it. He's like a second director. He's like a second director. And, yeah. The other thing I'll say is, too, one of the last things I'll say about Cruise is this. He is a much better dramatic actor than he is a action star. Because if you look at all the nominations Tom Cruise has ever gotten in his career, okay, he's gotten 3 nominations. He got one for Magnolia, he got one on the 4th of July, and he got one for blanking on the third one, but he has another one. Okay, he action is. If I've always wondered this, if Mission Impossible, you gifted him. Oh, thank you very much, Dad. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. But that being said, it's one of those things where he's a much better dramatic actor than he is. I mean, look, he can do comedy too. I mean, look at Tropic Thunder, right? But that's the thing. I can't. So at the end of the day, I can't wait for this. This is going to blow up and it's going to be huge. I agree with you. That might be lowballing it. I wouldn't be shocked or surprised to see this hit $100 million. I really wouldn't. Because it's not going to be opening weekend. It's going to be the next weekend. And if it makes 100 opening weekend, you can only imagine what it's going to make the second weekend. Right? So. But anyways, what do you guys think about the Mission Impossible numbers? Are they low? Do you think they're right on par? Do you think that this is a great opening for Tom Cruise in what he's doing? Are you looking forward to this movie as much as I am? Are you going to go see it in IMAX? Or are you going to go see it in 2D? Or are you going to go see it in Screen X? Maybe Dolby. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I'm going to get back to everybody.